everyone, so welcome to our first video lecture. Today we're going to talk about some basic research concepts, places where you want to start your research. So we're going to go over keyword searching and then reference tools. And I'll sort of mix them together for you. So let's talk about reference tools first. What they are, why you want to use them, why they're even important. In this class, we're going to focus on a couple different tools. So in the library, we have a database called Credo Reference, and it's an online database, and it takes everything that you would find in a paper encyclopedia or dictionary or almanac or whatever, and it puts it all online for you. So you can use it from home, you can come into the library and use it, but it's a lot more convenient than picking up one of those big books. We're also going to talk about alternative reference sources. So specifically for this lecture, we'll talk about Wikipedia, and then in class we'll talk about a few other ones, but the big one is Wikipedia. And we'll talk about your homework assignment or your in-class assignment, which is comparing Credo and Wikipedia. And then we'll throw keywords in there also. So why do you want to use reference? The big thing is if you have been given a topic, a paper topic or a project topic like you have for this class, and you know nothing about it, reference is a good place to go educate yourself on just the basic knowledge that you need to start your research. So that's going to be your big thing, is reference will give you just a general overview of information. The other great thing about using a reference tool is that it's usually organized in essay form, which means that once you have all your research done and you have all this great information and now you need to put it all together in a paper or put it all together in a project, you can go back to those original reference tools and entries and look at how the entries were organized, because they're written like short essays, so it can help you with sort of the flow of your paper if that's something that you struggle with. The third cool thing, well, I think it's cool, you guys probably don't think it's cool, but the third useful thing about reference sources is that if you use the library's tools, and sometimes if you're using something like Wikipedia, those entries are going to be written by an expert in that particular field. So you'll always see this in the library tools. That expert that's written that entry will list all the sources they've used at the bottom of that entry. So it's like a mini works cited list, basically. So if you've read through that entry, you really like it, you think you're going to use it somehow in your research, you should go and look at what's been cited, because most likely you're going to want to use those sources as well. And so now you have 5 or 6 sources that are great and that you can use and that are scholarly and authoritative, and we'll talk later about what that means. But you haven't actually done any work, right? It saves you a ton of time. So that's what I like most about reference tools. That's how I use them. And I'll show you in class what you can do with those extra sources, how to actually find them and use them and incorporate them into your research. Okay, so I'm going to turn this into a little screencast now, and we're going to walk through some of the reference tools, and I'll just sort of explain what I'm doing as we go. Okay, so let's talk about your assignment, how to do that, and how to use the different reference tools, so Credo and Wikipedia. And then we'll also talk about how to do keyword searches. So if you're following along, and you can just sit and watch, or you can sort of do this along with me, whatever you want, go ahead and navigate to the library's homepage. It's just library.uaf.edu. And once you're there, we're going to click on Databases by Title. Okay, and then we're going to click on C for Credo. It's all the way at the bottom there, so go ahead and click on the link for Credo Reference. We'll open that up. Okay, so this is what Credo looks like. It's pretty straightforward. It has one big search box. If you guys want, in class we can talk about the image search and the concept map, but for our purposes today, we're just going to stick with this main search box. So what we're going to do here is a keyword search, and what that is the main topics that you pull out of your research statement or your thesis or whatever you have. So I want to search on the just war theory, so maybe my research question is whether or not the US military subscribes to the just war theory. So I don't want to type that whole sentence into Credo because that'll confuse the tool, right? It'll just pick up all those different words and bring back all kinds of results. So I just want to search the main concept, which is just war. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in, and then I'm going to click on search. And this is my results page. So you should see a page similar to this when you do your assignment. You can see we got lots of results. We have over 20 pages. Depending on what your topic is, you'll have more, you'll have less, but this is basically what it looks like. If you want to narrow down your search, if you just got way too many results, you can do that. You can do that in the left-hand bar here. So you can narrow by subject, so history or social sciences, or you can narrow by entry type. So maybe you only want to see the definition of just war, or you only want to look at articles about just war. You can narrow that way. For today, we're just going to keep it as it is, but you can certainly use these tools. So the way that you want to use Credo is first just sort of look at the results that came up. Credo does this nice thing where they highlight your search terms, so you can see how many times your search terms showed up in an entry and in what context, and that's really important because you want to make sure that your terms show up in the right context, that it's not some other meaning or being used in some other way, because then the article is useless to you. So reading for context is super, super important. So once you look through these and you find one that looks interesting, you go ahead and open it up. I'm going to click on this one. And you'll see, like I mentioned earlier, this is really organized like a short essay. Okay? So you'd read through this, and I won't make you read this now, but I read through it, and it's really about the history of the just war theory. It doesn't give a lot of modern day information, which is fine, right? You don't have to get all your information from one source. This could be your history source. You could use another tool to find some more modern stuff. So it's perfectly fine if you have, a couple entries that are just about specific pieces of your topic. So if we scroll down, you'll see that here's that works cited list I was telling you about earlier. So the author, this guy, wrote this entry, and he used these 4 sources to do it. So if you read through this and you realize this is really great, I want to use this in my research, you probably are going to want to spend the time to look up these 4 sources as well and see if they're going to work for you. Most likely they will. You'll get something good from them. Okay, the last thing I want to show you in Credo, and this is a really nice tool, is Credo will provide the reference, the citation for you. So this is APA, or this is MLA format. You could switch it to APA, Chicago, Harvard, whatever you need, and you can just copy and paste it into your works cited list. And we'll talk later on in class about citations and all of that stuff and how to do them and annotated bibliographies. But for now, this is a good way to build a works cited list. All you have to do is make sure that this is correct. Just double check it against a style guide, and we'll talk about how to do that. Okay, so let's move on to Wikipedia. Your assignment asks you to do a search in Credo and a search in Wikipedia, and then compare and contrast and evaluate the 2 tools. So we're just going to repeat the same search here. So go ahead and type in just war and click the little arrow button. Okay, and we get a page on just war theory. So this is what we're looking for. Before you dive into Wikipedia, because the entries are often really long, you want to go and check out the table of contents just to see what you're getting into, if it's really what you're looking for or not. So we can see here that we have some history, just like we did in Credo. So that could be a good way, if you're comparing sources and trying to figure out what you want to use, comparing how they talk about the history of the topic might be a good way to do that. Then we have the criteria of just war theory. So for a war to be just, it has to meet a certain set of criteria, so that would be an important thing to know about this topic. And then we have official positions. So this would be World War I, the U.S.'s official position on just war during that time. So it looks like this might be a pretty relevant entry for our topic. And if we scroll down and look at it, we see that here we have the history, and then we have that criteria, the World War I stuff, and so on and so forth. Okay, if we go all the way down, we have references and further reading. So I'm sure most, if not all of you, have used Wikipedia before, and you're probably pretty familiar with how it works. But the references here are just like the references in Credo, right? The people who put together this entry used these 25 references to do so. So if you did like the entry and you learned some stuff, again, it's worth your time to go through here and see what else is going to work for you. And the nice thing here is that a lot of them are links, so it makes it even easier for you. The further reading section is just that. It's further reading. It's what the authors think will supplement this entry. And it's just, for your needs and purposes, another great way to find sources. A lot of these are books, so if you find one that you think sounds interesting, you can go to the library catalog and search for it there and see if we have it. Okay, so if we scroll back up, your assignment asks you to repeat the search using both tools, so Credo and Wikipedia, compare and contrast, and then choose one, evaluate, choose which one you would actually want to use, and then tell me why. So if I was doing the assignment and I had to pick between the two sources we just saw, I would pick Wikipedia. The reason for that is the entry is more complete, right? We have way more information. There's a lot more references and further reading. Okay, so that gives me more places to go once I'm done with this entry. Gives me more research paths, right? And then I also get some cool things like the important people associated with the topic and definitions of terms related to the topic and all that stuff. So you're really getting a great background on this topic. Sometimes you'll want to use Credo. Credo will be better than Wikipedia. It really just depends on what you're researching. Keep in mind that you don't want to cite Wikipedia in a research paper, so this is really a jumping off point, right? It's going to be the very first place you start your research, and then you're going to go from there and find academic, scholarly sources, and we'll talk more about how to do that in class, but this is really a good starting place. So what I'd like you to do is sort of work through this, play with it on your own. If you want, in class we're going to start the comparing reference sources assignment. You can take it home and finish it if you don't finish it in class. You can always go back to this video and watch it for tips and tricks. But bring any questions you might have to class and we'll work through all that stuff. We'll probably do another short example and we'll just see how it goes. All right, see you guys soon.